I've held the hand of a 23-year-old whose lungs looked 60 years old on the scan. That image doesn't leave you. Neither does the look on their face when they realize it didn't have to be this way. Today, I'm ripping apart the lies you've been told about tobacco, vapes, hookah, and heat-not-burn products. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which ones destroy you fastest, what the actual science shows when you strip away the billion-dollar marketing, and why nearly everything you believe about safer alternatives is dead wrong. Christopher Columbus dragged tobacco into Europe in 1492. 70 years later, a guy named Nicholas Monardus published a paper swearing it cured 36 diseases: migraines, constipation, insomnia. If someone told you today that smoking fixes headaches, you'd think they were insane. But back then, they built an empire on that lie. Tobacco hit Russia under Ivan the Terrible. Some historians think the Great Fire of Moscow started because someone tossed a lit pipe. But here's what makes my blood boil. In 1571, doctors were prescribing tobacco as medicine. That was 500 years ago. You know when the first major report proved cigarettes were lethal? The 1970s. 5 centuries of coffins stacking up before science finally admitted the obvious. In 1970, an American lung specialist dropped a bomb at a medical congress. Hard proof that cigarette smokers were dying of lung disease at catastrophic rates. That presentation should have changed everything overnight. Want to know when the World Health Organization actually launched its first real anti-tobacco campaign? 2003. Not 6 months later, not even a year, 33 years later. Why the delay? Tobacco money. In the 1970s, 42% of Americans smoked. The industry owned politicians, scientists, entire government agencies. They buried the truth in cash. And it gets worse. The WHO didn't officially put vaping and hookah in the same danger category as cigarettes until 2016. Then in 2019, a mysterious lung disease tore through thousands of teenagers who vaped. I'm about to tell you what that actually was, and it's going to make you sick. You're wondering why I'm dragging you through history class. Here's why. It took humanity 500 years to admit that smoking tobacco annihilates your body. 5 centuries to prove it, shreds your lungs, corrupts your heart, rots your teeth, and hooks your brain. And now, these sleek new products, vapes, hookah, heated tobacco, roll out with the same promises. The water filters it. No tar, no problem. I watched a video with 40 million views where someone blows cigarette smoke through cotton, and it turns black. Then vapes through it, and the cotton stays white. The message? Totally safe. It's not safe. The poison just doesn't leave a stain. The destruction is invisible, but it's there, eating you from the inside. I refuse to wait another 500 years to tell the truth about these products. So I'm saying it now, backed by every study my team has dissected. If you're using any of this, you need to know exactly what it's doing to you. Tobacco works because nicotine hijacks your brain. It locks onto acetylcholine receptors and floods you with dopamine. You smoke, you feel good. You smoke again, same rush. Your brain carves a groove. Cigarette equals reward. That's why quitting feels impossible. You're not just fighting nicotine cravings, you're fighting your own dopamine-starved brain. It's the same trap as sugar, caffeine, any addictive substance. They all hijack the same reward system. And yes, former addicts don't technically exist. Your brain never forgets what made it feel good. That memory is permanent. The first e-cigarette was invented in 2003 by a Chinese pharmacist named Han Lik. His father died of lung cancer. Han Lik thought he was saving the world, creating a harmless way to quit smoking. He genuinely believed it was safe. Turns out, he just invented a new addiction. And for most people, it didn't replace cigarettes. It joined them. Research shows 30 to 35% of people who switch to vaping end up using both. Cigarettes and vapes. Double the damage, double the risk. That's not harm reduction. That's a catastrophe for your lungs, your heart, your entire body. Here's where it went off the rails. In 2019, thousands of American teenagers were rushed to hospitals with lungs that looked like war zones, fever, gasping for air, chest scans that belonged to lifelong smokers. Except these were kids. The disease was called EVALI. E-cigarette or vaping product use-associated lung injury. It's a brutal type of pneumonia triggered by vaping, and antibiotics can't touch it. It causes fibrosis, permanent scarring in the lungs. Once it forms, it never heals. I've seen scans of 20-year-olds with lungs that look 70. The scarring doesn't fade. It's there forever. Everyone knows cigarettes cause lung cancer. But vapes? Most people think they're basically harmless. Flavored mist. Smells like candy. Doesn't stain your hands. It feels like a toy. That's exactly the problem. A 14-year-old walks down the street smoking a cigarette. People stare. They judge. But that same kid holding a vape? Nobody blinks. I was at a conference recently. Stopped at a convenience store. Vape shop next door. I watched a mom on the phone asking her son, "You want strawberry or banana flavor?" I stood there thinking, this woman would never buy her kid a pack of Marlboros. But she has no idea what she just handed him is just as deadly, maybe worse, because he's going to hit it all day, every day. She's not trying to hurt him. She just doesn't know. And that gap, that's what I'm trying to close. So how do you actually quit vaping? If it has nicotine, it's the same battle as quitting cigarettes. Some people use nicotine patches to step down. Some go cold turkey. The key is replacing that dopamine hit with something real. Exercise, learning a skill, anything that rewires the habit loop and gives your brain a different kind of reward. People ask about that book, Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Here's my take. Most authors who write those books have quit 5 times themselves. That's a red flag. They're not experts. They're repeat relapsers repackaging failure as advice. The book might pump you up while you're reading it. But if you don't act the second you close it, that motivation evaporates. It's like watching a workout video at midnight thinking, tomorrow I'm going beast mode. Then tomorrow comes and you hit snooze. The truth is, people who successfully quit already value their health enough to protect it. They don't need extra motivation. But the more you understand, the actual mechanisms, the permanent damage, the ripple effect on everyone around you, the easier it becomes to walk away. Knowledge alone won't save you, but it can tip the scale. If you've quit, cigarettes, vapes, anything, drop a comment and tell me how. I want to hear it. Your story might be the one that saves someone else. Now let's talk about what the research actually says. Short to medium term, e-cigarettes are less harmful than regular cigarettes. That's a fact. But we have zero long-term data. We don't know what happens to someone who vapes for 30 or 40 years because vaping hasn't existed that long. So anyone claiming it's safe is guessing. Second fact, e-cigarettes are absolutely not safe for people who've never smoked. If you don't smoke, don't start vaping. You're creating risk where there was none. Third, e-cigarettes deliver fewer toxins than traditional cigarettes. Fewer, not zero. Less arsenic, less cadmium, less lithium. But it's still there. That white cotton in the viral video? It's not proof of safety. It's proof the chemicals don't stain. That's it. And here's the nightmare. You can't track how much you're vaping. You know if you smoked half a pack today. But how many puffs did you take? How much nicotine did you inhale? You have no idea. And the liquid in those cartridges isn't regulated like cigarettes. You don't know what's actually in there. I've never smoked. Not cigarettes, not vapes, nothing. I didn't see the point. It wasn't going to make me smarter, stronger, or better at my job. So why start? I know doctors who smoke, usually the older ones. They say it calms their nerves. You know what else calms your nerves? Alcohol. But we don't pretend that's healthy either. In my department, not a single physician smokes. That's not a coincidence. Now let's talk heat-not-burn products. IQOS and the rest. The pitch is simple. Tobacco is heated, not burned, so you get fewer toxins. And technically that's true. A cigarette burns at 900 degrees Celsius. Heat-not-burn devices run at 350. Lower temperature means fewer nasty chemicals. But here's what the studies show. Heat-not-burn still damages your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells. That cripples your lungs' ability to function. It increases oxidative stress. It raises your risk of respiratory infections. And it boosts microbial adhesion, which means you're more likely to get sick when exposed to anything. Oh, and here's the kicker. Secondhand exposure to heat-not-burn aerosol is just as harmful as secondhand cigarette smoke. People think no visible smoke means no risk to others. Dead wrong. The harm is identical. Before I get to hookah, let me tell you what I do. I run an oncology and urology department. Everyone knows smoking causes lung cancer, but 90% of bladder cancer patients? Smokers? 80% of kidney cancer patients? Also smokers. It's written in every clinical guideline. Tobacco use is a primary risk factor, right next to obesity. I'll be honest, there was a time I smoked hookah. Never touched a cigarette, but in college I'd hit hookah lounges with friends. People swore the water filtered everything out. I didn't think it was the same as smoking. And because I wanted to belong, because I liked the ritual, the flavors, the clouds, I did it. Then I read the research, and I stopped cold. Here's what one hookah session does. It delivers the same carbon monoxide as an entire pack of cigarettes. One session, the tar content exceeds a full pack. Yes, the water filters some of it. Not enough. Not even close. Hookah smoke also contains formaldehyde and acetaldehyde. Formaldehyde is what we use to preserve corpses in the anatomy lab. It's a carcinogen. If it touched your skin, it would burn. That's what you're breathing in. Regular hookah use is linked to chronic fatigue, digestive problems, elevated levels of lead and arsenic. And people do it socially for hours because it doesn't feel like smoking. So why am I telling you all this? You already know smoking is bad. You've heard it 1,000 times. But sometimes when someone you trust lays out the facts without sugarcoating anything, it clicks differently. Not because you didn't know, because now you can't pretend you don't. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to give you the information the tobacco industry spent billions burying. The truth your insurance company hopes you never think about too hard. If you're still smoking, cigarettes, vapes, hookah, whatever, I won't lie and say quitting is easy. It's not, but it's possible. And the first step is deciding your health matters more than the habit. If your friends only hang out at hookah lounges, tell them you don't smoke anymore and suggest something else. If they respect you, they'll adjust. It's the same as saying you don't drink when someone invites you to a bar. People stop offering once they know it's not your thing. When I stopped going to hookah lounges, I just said, I don't smoke, let's grab coffee instead. That was it. Nobody pushed. If your entire social circle revolves around smoking, that's a tougher conversation, but it's still worth having. I stay healthy because I see the consequences every single day. I talk to patients drowning in regret over choices they made 20 years ago. I look at scans showing damage that can never be undone. My patients keep me honest. That's why I don't have a beer gut. That's why I don't drink. That's why I've never touched drugs. I've learned to love my life without numbing it. And that's what I'm trying to give you. Thanks for watching. More coming soon. Stay sharp.